So all that ABA is looking to do is taking a look at all the environmental factors. What are all the ingredients here that is causing behaviors that we don't want and we want to change, or supporting behaviors that are good and that we want in the kids. ABA is about changing the ingredients, changing the conditions that are causing these reactions so that we end up producing the very changes that we want to actually see. So if you're very effective at managing other people, if you're very effective at teaching kids, most likely you're very effective with ABA principles. Whether you know those principles or not, that's irrelevant. It's those principles at work that make you an effective teacher. For ineffective teachers, for people that aren't very good at managing kids' behaviors, guess what? You're using the wrong techniques. You're doing the wrong things. And you need to change those things up to get the behavior changes that you want. So we're going to talk a little about an analogy here, okay? So the thing is that ABA is a little bit like cooking, okay? But if you don't know how to cook, you might look at a recipe and be like, okay, all these ingredients go into this pot. I'll cut them all up, throw in this pot. I'll cook it, okay? And then a lot of times you'll find out, oh, it doesn't taste very good. You'll realize like, oh, you know what? The first step might be cooking down the onions. Like, oh, you know what? I don't like raw onions in there, so I'm gonna slow cook it in there until it caramelizes and the flavors come out. Then I might add the garlic after that. And then, but there's a sequence, a timing, a particular flavor combination that works well at a certain time. And when you have that timing down, then you arrive at the best dish possible, the tastiest dish, when you are understanding of all those variables involved. Just like in cooking, it's the same in ABA. You have some people that kind of know flavors that never really cooked, but they can sit down and like, okay, I don't need a recipe. I can kind of put a couple things together and it's still going to end up tasting good. I have other people that follow a recipe and they try to follow it to a T and it still ends up being very untasty. For some people that study ABA, they know, oh, you know, this onion, I know this garlic, I know these ingredients, but they still don't know how to cook. So this is what our whole series is really about, is one, giving you the knowledge, but really, we're going to teach you how to cook with ABA. So what's going to produce behavior change? Okay. Well, a lot of the reasons why we do things is that we're motivated to do things, right? And that those motivators change over time. The power, the strength of the reinforcers to motivate us depends on a lot of different situations. It depends on the context. Are we at home? Are we at work? Are we just playing around on the playground? All that context plays a part in our motivation and the power of those reinforcers at that moment in time. If we're among our family versus among our friends versus among our colleagues, we behave differently and we have different reinforcers depending on those contexts. So let's take a look at a very kind of simple example of motivational changes. What if somebody asks you like, hey, here's a bunch of really heavy suitcases. Can you please move these over there? Will you say yes or will you say no? I'm a really strong guy. All right. What are like, oh, those are nothing for me. I can lift it easily. All right. So if I'm that kind of guy, most likely, hey, I'll say yes. The person asking me is kind of a jerk, like somebody that's not really nice. All right. If they're not nice to me, well, even though I'm really strong, maybe I'll just say no. Let's take the same situation. But I recently hurt my back. I got up out of bed and oh man, my back is killing me. All right. If somebody asks me, like most likely, like, no, I really wish I could, but my back hurts. However, what if like a really handsome guy or a really beautiful girl asks you, like, oh my God, she's so pretty. Oh, okay. So even though you have a hurt back, you're going to be like, nothing hurts. You want to pretend? And so you're going to say, yeah, I'll do it. Hopefully those really short examples give you an idea, a context, an understanding of the razor thin line that we dance when we make decisions. And that is really largely determined by how motivated we are to do something. And that motivation might change from one moment to the next, depending on the context. So in one moment, you can have a guy that's asking you to help move these heavy suitcases, and the guy's really rude and mean to me. And then you can turn around and this very pretty girl is like, hey, can you help me? And like, all right, I'll do it. Okay. In one context, you're going to say no. In another one, you're going to say yes. Okay. And it really depends on your own motivation to do those kind of things. The power of reinforcers change over time. Okay. The things we enjoy today may not be the same things we enjoyed this afternoon or tomorrow or the next day. And that's something you always have to keep in mind when you're working with anybody else, that you have to take a look at what's motivating them, and especially what's motivating to them when you're teaching them. The best teachers are ones that are going to be very good at avoiding satiation. And remember, satiation is just, oh, I'm tired of this reinforcer. I've had enough of it. I no longer find it a reinforcer. In order to be an effective teacher, you have to have a big arsenal, a big repertoire of things that you can do and ways that you can interact with this child that's going to be highly motivating for them. Most of the kids that we start with, when we start with them, their world is very small. And what I mean by that is they actually enjoy very, very few things. Okay? A lot of kids that I work with, they only eat a very limited number of foods. They only tolerate a limited number of situations. They want to be left alone. They don't want to be touched. They don't want to be tickled. They don't want your interactions with them. Okay? And that if we leave that alone, then we're doing all the wrong things for this child, because it's our job to wedge ourselves into that small world and break that world wide open for them so that they can learn to enjoy new experiences and new sensations, and to find enjoyment across more and more things. To be really good about avoiding satiation, you need to diversify. Diversify, diversify, diversify. What that means is that when you're working with a child, you have to find what they enjoy, but also have a plan of attack to increase what this child enjoys. What that means is, through your interactions with them, you're going to get them to learn to enjoy being tickled, enjoy being thrown up in the air, enjoy that physical touch. Why? Because the more things that they enjoy, the happier they're going to be. It's the same with food. I love eating. You can put me anywhere in the world and I'm going to be happy. Okay? Now, there are a lot of people that I know that are very limited in what they can eat. So you put them in a situation where that one thing that they really like to eat is no longer there. They're no longer as happy. Okay? So the more things that you can enjoy, the more activities that you can enjoy, the more different foods that you can enjoy, the more different situations that you can enjoy, the happier you are. And that's really what we're striving for, is building in a lot of enjoyment for a lot of different things, so that then they're going to be motivated to do things. How do you do that? How do you get a child to enjoy more and more things? Well, you have to expose it to them. I can tell you a whole lot of times, like a lot of the kids I work with, when we first start off, I'll do things like I'll tip them over in their chair. So they'll be sitting in their chair and I'll tip them over while holding onto the chair. The very beginning, okay, they're afraid of it, okay? But after repeated exposure to it, and me adding enjoyment, meaning like I'm laughing with them, I'm trying to get them to find it more enjoyable. After that, they start to love it and they start to request it. So when does behavior change occur? It only occurs when the person is motivated to do something. Motivation comes from our environment, the reinforcers and punishers in our environment. Okay? What that means is that who's in charge of those motivators? You are as parents. You are as educators. You control the child's environment. So when you talk about behavior change, then you have to organize your environment in a way that the reinforcers are going to support the behaviors that you want, and the punishers are present to eliminate the behaviors you don't want. So that concludes our lecture for today on the behavior principles. Another thanks to Pixabay, because that's where I got all the pictures. So hopefully the pictures help again with this presentation. I think I had someone ask me if there's a possibility of me sharing the PowerPoints here. I don't use PowerPoint, but I use the Apple version. Anyways, so I figure I'll PDF them, and then we can look at also adding them to the website so that you can download them at your leisure. We love the questions, so anytime that you have any questions at all, type it in. We appreciate any feedback, especially any kind of comments that you want to leave. Please leave those comments. We do read them. Whether or not we incorporate them, we do our best, but we're limited by technology and various our own knowledge with certain aspects of it. Look at Eugen. She dressed up really nice because of the feedback today. So keep that feedback coming. We really appreciate it. If you like what we do, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time.